Chapter 66. Veldanava was sitting and chatting with Romulus in her dungeon. "What do you think of what happened?" Romulus inquired Veldanava. They also felt what happened everywhere else. From the new cryptid snake that invaded. Romulus created a barrier strong enough that an invasion would not be possible for Cardinal, which is why Guy did not notice any danger to the world. Romulus has been actively covering the world with her power. I think that we should just let rimuru and the others handle it. Veldanava shrugged as he watched the battles without anyone noticing. Rimuru should be capable enough, he does not need my help. Even then, Velgrind is there as well as Lay. Romulus looked at Veldanava with a complicated expression. She wanted the threat to be destroyed as soon as possible. But unlike her, Veldanava has a habit of letting dangerous beings go, similar to the insect king Zelenus. If she goes to the enemy that she does not know the strength of, at worst she may get killed and at best majorly injured in the fight. Which is not beneficial for the cardinal world for its administrator to be weakened. She placed her palm to her cheek worrying about Rimuru's situation. Luckily, she has already informed him of Veldanava's whereabouts. "Veldanava," a voice echoed throughout the labyrinth. Rimuru and Velgrind were walking through the area until they find him. "It seems that they found you," Romulus giggled. She knew that the reason Veldanava was here was to find a place to hide from Rimuru. "He did. Well, I'll just brace myself," Veldanava muttered almost jokingly as he sweat. Rimuru managed to find Veldanava. He was sitting with Romulus on the other side of the table chatting and drinking tea. "I doubt you wouldn't know why I'm here, so I'll just get to the point." Rimuru marched toward Veldanava. Behind him Velgrind waved and looked at Veldanava with pity. "No, you can do it, Rimuru," Veldanava said, expecting what Rimuru wanted to say. Velgrind waved to Romulus. She made a chair for herself and sat beside Romulus as they watched the duo. Rimuru glared at Veldanava, his eyes showing no emotion. It was as if he was looking at something that was not supposed to exist. Like something worse than any trash or waste to have ever existed. Like I said, I know what you want to say." Veldanava flattered a bit from Rimuru's expression. "Something like a deterrent or barrier, right? Or just tell you where they are, and defeat them." Rimuru grabbed Veldanava on both shoulders and with a smile not reaching his eyes, "Then just do it. Do you know how easy life would be if you just do these things?" Rimuru's fingers digged through Veldanava's shoulders. Using the magicals of several billion followers of the Silver Faith, Rimuru boosted his strength enough to damage Veldanava. His base strength is already enough to put up a resistance against true dragons, boosting it even more in. Wait, did you get strong? Anyway, I don't know where they are," Veldanava explained, panicking, wanting to escape, but Rimuru's grip stops him. "Explain. I lost my omniscient, remember? I can only watch you since I'm connected to you via naming, looking for a specific universe, even more so if it was hidden is too much hassle task even for me," Veldanava explained as fast as he could to Rimuru. "Beside, isn't this why I gave you your job? To do this type of work? You force this on me in the name of responsibility," Rimuru countered. Veldanava's expression changed as he looked at Rimuru, the tone in the air changed into a serious one. Even the two bystanders were caught off guard by the sudden change in mood. "Rimuru-kun," Veldanava grabbed one of his arms, pulling it off his shoulder. "This is still and will always be your responsibility, you of all people should know, this snakes don't exist in the future." Rimuru gritted his teeth. He let go of Veldanava and walked a few meters away, turning and placing his palm over his eyes before sighing. He knew that those snakes weren't supposed to exist. Even if he does not have all his memories, he knew of majority of necessary information about the future, like Veldanava's death, Ramiriz's turning into a fairy, though he does not know how she felt, Milam Nava, new monsters, even the state of the humans that Veldanava loves so much. But nowhere did anyone mention cryptid snakes, not one. Zejin and Apito he knew, he took them in then as well. Though he did not know that they were insectars, but they exist then. Not one mention of the snakes, not even the powerful ones that Sitdale fought were mentioned in the world's history. That would mean, the snakes that Ivaraj made was done by Rimuru. Maybe someone to defeat the enemy that imprisoned him, maybe he took inspiration in Rimuru's gates and managed to create a snake that makes portals. Maybe his desire for revenge is greater now than it was supposed to be. A lot of unknown, and a lot of maybes, but he knew that it was centered around him. "I know that," he admitted. "That's why I'm asking you for help, I don't know what to do." He whispered silently. He was stressing over the battle that happened. From the observation, not one of the enemies seemed to be the mastermind or leader of the snakes. This would mean, someone stronger and more dangerous is just lurking in the multiverse. Veldanava walked towards Rimuru's side. I can't interfere, you are the only one who can add and remove things from happening in the future. If I or any one of us made a choice to change something without you, we may make a bigger threat and we don't know how or why. A deep silence ensued the labyrinth, not one sound was heard. Then if Rimuru-kun asked for my help, I can move around. Romulus raised the question to Veldanava. She knew about Rimuru's situation and personally wanted to help the silver demon. Veldanava had a complicated expression plastered on his face. Well, yes. He really didn't want Romulus to interfere. Her moving would be a major change in the timeline. Don't worry too much, Romulus reassures Veldanava as she saw his face. I'll just help them build a barrier, and among other things. She smiled as her face looked towards Rimuru. She was genuinely sorry for Rimuru's situation. He didn't want to be placed as the one who will always be at fault for every problem now and the future. Even if he is a demon who are known to be heartless monsters who only seek what they want. Every time Romulus sees him, she can tell that something is changing inside him. As if, parts of him that were not there before, suddenly started appearing. Fixing himself to be something more than just an anomaly, something more than just a demon. Thanks Romulus, Rimuru bowed to her, grateful for her help even if only a little. Really, thanks. Foo, I guess that makes this the second time you owe me. Romulus recalled the first time that he owed her. I guess so, I'll make sure to pay you back. That's all good, but Romulus exercised restraint. Veldanava made sure to tell Romulus that any more interference would just result in a worse future. Of course, I'll only go as far as give advice. Even Romulus knew the repercussion of her actions. She wasn't an irresponsible person who does not think of her actions. Rimuru and Romulus chatted for more than a few hours with Veldanava watching a bit worried. Meanwhile Velgrind was getting bored and then she sensed something, or more like someone. She promptly stood up, to everyone's attention. I'll just go and say hello. With those words, she left the labyrinth. Rimuru checked with his senses. It was an unfamiliar creature, someone he does not recall. But it was all too familiar. The aura of a true dragon. Is that Veldora? I heard so much about him from Velzard and Velgrind. Veldanava was quite surprised. After all this time, you two never met. He could have sworn, someone that stays with a true dragon like Velgrind would result in him meeting Veldora at least once. Yeah well, most of the time I get the opportunity to visit the Cardinal world, he's always dead. He stated as he recalled Velzard and Velgrind bickering about how to discipline Veldora. Well, how about you two meet right now? Romulus suggested to the silver demon. We can finish this talk at another time. I am interested to visit your home. Rimuru nodded to himself. Agni and Runa would probably happy to see her again as well. Rimuru decided to say his farewell and contacted the two to escort her to Citadel. Let's hope it was for the best, both your decisions and mine. Veldanava sighed to himself as Rimuru left. He was scratching the back of his neck. He meant that his not helping decision and Ramirez's helping decision would lead to at the very minimum a stable and peaceful future. I'm sure it will be fine, Rimuru-kun can do it. Romulus comforts Veldanava's worries. Rimuru was flying through the skies, following the large mass of magicules leaking from the east. As he got closer, a familiar figure was also present aside from Velgrind. Both figures were floating in the sky arguing. Like I said, your way of disciplining is too harsh on him. Velgrind shouted as she pointed at the knocked-out dragon on the ground. You can't pamper him, he'll just continue causing destruction. Velzard, who had her arms crossed, fired back. But killing him isn't the only way, I'm sure you've already mentally scarred him. Don't worry, he'll only vaguely remember all of this once he's dead. Velzard said as she readied her next attack. But he'll still remember it. I haven't even gotten a chance to bond with him because of you. Velgrind pointed out accusingly. Alright, let's calm down you two. Rimuru got in between and tried to mediate between the true dragon sisters. The three of them, lower near Veldora's unconscious body. Velzard, for now how about letting Velgrind take care of Veldora's discipline even just once? Just to test things out, you never know really without trying, she might be good at it. Rimuru tried to convince the ice dragon. In his eyes he somewhat pity Veldora for the amount of death he's had from birth to now. He feels a small connection, as he was also killed though only once by a true dragon, Velgrind, before. Well, if Rimuru says so, maybe. Velzard was having a hard time giving her blessing. Then, a large roar was heard. Veldora woke up and fired a large breath to the sky. I'm still alive, he celebrated, not noticing the presence of the trio. Velgrind jumped and punched him in the head, knocking him out again. Quiet, sister was about to agree. Velgrind screamed at Veldora's body that was knocked out for the second time that day. Seeing this, well, looks like she can teach him like how I do. Velzard nodded her head seeing Velgrind's action. She turned toward the direction of the frozen continent. I'll be going then, if he ever caused trouble I'll punish him. She flew into the sky, and not even half a second she was kilometers away. That's not a good first impression of his other sister, you know. Rimuru told Velgrind as he mentions her punching Veldora. Right, Velgrind sighed, turning to Veldora's body, not moving even a single millimeter. You're awake. Yes, awake it is. Veldora sat as quickly as he heard her words. He realized that the scariest creature was gone now, though he still feels scared in front of this one. Not as much as the other. Will you listen to me? Velgrind asked Veldora. She needed to know how much is the extent of his obedience. Of course. Then firstly, no more rampaging for you. Why? Veldora's tone had a genuine confusion from Velgrind's words. As if he was asked that he was not allowed to exist or do something that was necessary for him to live. Because it's annoying every time you do it. The humans need time to rebuild from your destruction. Well, for Guy that's not really that bad, as long as it's in moderation. Whispered Rimuru, who was watching from the side. After explaining and talking with the storm dragon, Velgrind and Veldora actually bonded like a siblings for once. It seems that the trauma is still specifically towards Velzard and not generalized as from his sisters. Veldora had a blank slate for Velgrind aside from two things. She tried to convince Velzard to be gentler and she was properly explaining and bonding with him. He magically unconsciously forgot the punch that Velgrind threw, as he doesn't want to ruin such a proper bond. Anyway sister, the storm dragon turned to Rimuru. Who is that demon over there? He pointed with his face as he saw Rimuru watching from a few meters away smiling. Rimuru, noticing that the topic was turning towards him, he walked near Velgrind to introduce himself. Velgrind, seeing Rimuru near her side, this is Rimuru, the silver primordial demon, and also my lover. She said as she held Rimuru's hand, interlocking their fingers. What? A demon? Veldora narrowed his eyes. He just found a caring sister and he wanted to make sure Rimuru is right for her. The problem is, he doesn't know how to test it. Demon, fight me, Veldora shouted, pointing at Rimuru with his dragon-clawed hands. A few minutes later, I surrender. Veldora, who was laying on the ground, one of his eyes gone, half of his limbs lost their ability to function, and bruises and large injuries in his entire body. Rimuru stood in front of him, with his sword Rakshasa in his shoulder. I guess this sword is too much for you. He stored the sword, and Velgrind walked towards Veldora. He's very strong, isn't he? She said to Veldora. He's much scarier than me. Hearing those words, Veldora was made to recall Velzard, his sister, to the word scary. Placing Rimuru in the same standard, as a precaution for his life and mind. Sorry, Rimuru. No, as sister's lover, let me call you brother. Veldora raised his body and proclaimed. As of now, Rimuru the silver primordial is the brother of the storm dragon Veldora. Looks like you got yourself a little brother, Velgrind nudged as she smirked at Rimuru's exasperated expression. I already have a lot of troublesome siblings. To be continued.